If you experience hand numbness, you could be on your way toward a diagnosis of carpal tunnel syndrome. Hand numbness is one of the top things that we help people with, so I'm here today to share with you my top 3 stretches for carpal tunnel syndrome or numbness in the hands and arms. My name is Dr. David Crozy. I'm from Moines Chiropractic down in the southeast corner of Clive. And I have Sherry here holding the camera. Say hi, Sherry.
Hi.
All right, dropping the camera, let's just say. And so the first thing you need to understand about how your body works is that nerves are different than every other cell in the body. So every cell other than nerve cells are little round cells. And that means that if you get a cut on your hand, that spot's going to fill in with these little round cells and they're going to become exactly what they need to be, and it can heal quickly. So single nerve cells go all the way from the neck to the tip of the fingers. So if we look here, if you look at this nerve right here, this is actually millions of nerve fibers, and each of these nerve cells would start right there, and there are ones that go all the way to the tip of the fingers. And so the way you can think about nerves is that they function a little bit like a hose coming out of a house. So imagine for a second that there's this hose coming out of a house and it has a good flow of water. Let's say a first person comes up and steps on the hose. That first person might not put enough force on it to cut off the flow of the water. But then let's say a second person, even a little kid, comes up and they step on the hose further out. That second person doesn't have to put near as much pressure to cut off the flow of the water entirely. And so what we'll see most often with nerves is that there's not just one spot pushing on a nerve. There's actually more than one spot, and the combination of the two is what ultimately leads to the symptoms of numbness, as pressure is pushed on these sensation nerves trying to get clear message to the brain. They can't get their message through. And when more than one spot is pushing on a nerve, that gets called double crush syndrome. And in the comments below this video, I'm going to share a link to this great video that highlights some of the top spots that people would have this double crush syndrome. So today, let's see here. So the main spots that these nerves can be pushed on, the first one would be in the actual lower neck itself. And one of the top clues that nerves are being pinched in the lower neck is if a person has some amount of symptoms in both arms. So if you have numbness in both hands, we got to ask the question, well, what can affect both sides the same? And if we trace these nerves back up, you know, if a person's having numbness on both sides, you say, what can affect both of those? We trace the nerves from the arms back up, and we end up in this lower neck area. That's where all the nerves that come out that control everything down the arms. So that would be the most likely spot. And that's where we really would recommend a thorough exam to find out if there is problems in the lower neck that are actually the first spot where the nerves are being pinched. The second spot that these nerves can be pinched is right here. So this person's looking that direction just like I am right now. And this spot where the nerves come out in between these 3 muscles is called the thoracic outlet. And so these are the 3 scalene muscles. And I'm going to show you your best stretch for the scalene muscles. But if these muscles here have gotten tight over time and they start to tug on or pinch those nerves, then you can end up with some numbness down the arms on that side. That's one of the spots that can pinch it. Okay, the next spot is called the corticopectoral tunnel. I better say that again, right? Corticopectoral tunnel. And so, Sherry, if you zoom in right here, here are that group of nerves, and they come down, and all 3 nerves are together in the underarm region. And if there's tightness in your pectoral muscles, it can start to pinch on or tug those. We can see them a different view over here, but you got all those nerves right there. So we're going to show you a good stretch for the corticopectoral tunnel. The third spot is actually down in the forearm region itself. So on the front of the forearm, you've got the median nerve, and the median nerve is the one that actually passes through the carpal tunnel. So right there is the carpal tunnel. And if you truly only had carpal tunnel syndrome going on, essentially, if you only had carpal tunnel syndrome, you would only have pinching right here, and we'd expect you only to have numbness from here over in the hand. But what most people have is they have some symptoms here, they have some symptoms over on this side, and they have some pain or burning up in the forearm. So that's a clue that there's actually some pinching going on further up. The second spot in the forearm is what's called the cubital tunnel, and that's where the ulnar nerve, the funny bone nerve, passes behind the inner elbow, and then that ulnar nerve would come down and it would control sensation into this region of the hand right here. So if you end up with numbness and tingling in the pinky and the ring finger, we would have a clue that the pinching is going on more here, or of course it could be the spots further up in the underarm or in this lower neck area. So we're going to show you these stretches in just a second, but I'm going to give my usual disclaimer that we would always recommend and feel more confident to have a person start doing these stretches if we start with a thorough exam. And so that is recommended. If you do these stretches, you're doing them on your own and at your own risk. And we would say if you're going to try them without an exam, do them very gently at first. So Sherry, let's show people the scalene stretch first. And again, this is 3 muscles that diagonal from the top of the neck down and forward, and all those nerves that control the arm pass out right there. So I'll be your mirror image if you're doing these at home, but when I stretch my left side, you can stretch your right. And I'd have you hold on to the side of a chair. Then you're going to let your head drop to the side, just gently. And then you're going to do a movement called a head retraction. So you're going to give yourself a double chin, move the head straight backwards without lifting your chin at all. And then you'd move the chin toward the stretched side. So you're going to move it up and to the right. And what we should feel now is this nice stretch from the top of the neck to the down, kind of the front of the neck. And that would be stretching those scalene muscles, trying to make sure that they're not tugging on those nerves that go down the arm. So we would tell people hold that for 15 seconds, and then after the 15 seconds you could add a very gentle body lean, or you could add just a little bit of lifting the chin, and you'd hold it for another 15 seconds. When we have people do that, we'd say do a 30-second total stretch and do it a couple times a day. So that's that stretch for the scalene muscles, and the spot where the nerves come out is the thoracic outlet. Now for this underarm region, the best stretch that we've found is called the corner stretch, or if you're really tall, you can do it in a doorway. But if somebody is just a normal person working at a computer, they spend tons of time in this position here, and the pec muscles can get short and tight over time, and some of the nerves can start to almost tighten up a bit. And so, Sherry, let's have you come on over here. This stretch, when you do it at home, you get your elbows up to shoulder height. Then you're going to lean into a corner and feel a stretch on your pec muscles. After you feel the stretch on the pec muscles, you're going to arch your upper back forward and let the head drop back. And we're going to reverse everything about sitting at a computer or driving all day. So here's my corner. I feel a nice stretch on the front, and then I'm going to let my head drop back and arch my upper back forward. And that feels a super nice stretch through this region here, and we're getting this gentle stretch of the nerves as they go down the arms. And so that's another one that we'd say doing 30 seconds of that stretch a couple times a day can just work wonders for making sure that these nerves aren't being tugged on in that thoracic outlet or that coracoopectoral tunnel. All right, then the third one, I have to give you an additional warning that this is a stretch of the nerves that go all the way. Again, that single nerve cell goes from the base of the neck all the way to the tips of the fingers, and we're going to do a stretch that whole direction. So you have to be very gentle when you try this, ease in super gentle. We don't want to tug on a nerve that's already been injured. But what you do is you'd find a wall, you'd turn your hand backwards and put the palm of the hand up against the wall. Then we're going to drop our chin toward the opposite side chest. And I already feel a nice stretch from here all the way to the tips of the fingers. But if you don't feel a stretch yet, you'd rotate the shoulder forward a little bit. And so again, we would say start with just this super gentle stretch, but we'd hold this for 15 seconds. Then we could make it just a tiny, tiny bit more intense and hold it for another 15 seconds. So, all right. And what that one did, again, it stretches out the nerves through these top areas up there, but it also stretches a muscle here called the pronator teres that can tug on the muscles, and it gets a stretch into the carpal tunnel and the ulnar nerve region right there. So those are the 3 main stretches that we would teach people to loosen the spots that can tug on the nerves and cause numbness down the arms. Again, we would always recommend starting with a thorough exam, especially knowing that one of the top spots where the nerves get some pressure is in the lower neck area. And so if you ever want to come in and have that more thorough checkup done, just give us a call over here. The number is 309-1217, and Sherry, she'd pick up the phone and find a time for you to come in. Other than that, I do want to invite you to follow our Facebook page, and that way you can get these weekly Facebook Lives where we're providing all this valuable information. Again, the philosophy in our office is that we start with a thorough exam. We do a combination of chiropractic care when it's needed, and we would emphasize we always keep our care within each patient's comfort level. So for some people, that's the hands-on styles with quicker motions, and for other people, that means that we use these more gentle instruments that keep things very gentle. And then we always try to empower people with the stretches and exercises that they can do on their own to get your body working better and keep it working better going forward. So thanks for your time, and I hope these provided a lot of valuable information. Go ahead and share it with your friends and families as well. So thank you.